You can't really just go and get a speaker.
Yeah.
That's what we really try to say with small quarterbacks. Not working out.
There we go. Okay. So it looks like everybody's done eating. We are going to start just a few minutes early, but we do have a couple of announcements before we get going. First, who is enjoying this conference? Brother Gilliam is doing an excellent job, amazing job. He's touching on some really tough topics, but things that I think are not talked about enough, especially in the church congregation. So it's really nice for him to hit those topics, even the tough ones, even if it's hard for you to hear. So thank you, Brother Gilliam, for really touching on those and hitting those hard. We also have, there are gift bags in the lobby for when you leave. There is one bag per couple, so if you grab one of those, it's just a little party gift as a thank you for being here, thank you for registering, and please take that with you. There's just some fun goodies in there. Each one has a little bit of a link to our theme here of Linked, one God, one weekend, two hearts. So there's that. If everybody could please stay for just a few minutes following conference once we're wrapped up, because we do have service here tomorrow, so we have to reset this room and the lobby for our regular services. So if you could please help, just stack chairs, fold tables and put them away, take out trash, anything that you can do for just a few minutes, we would appreciate it. And then I think that was all of the announcements. Oh, and we are recording this. It will be made available. We're not sure how we're making that available yet, but we do have everyone's email who registered, so we will make sure to send out an email and let you know when and how that's available. And so it will be broken up, all of the breaks and different things that were in here will be cut out, so that obviously you're not going to be watching just 8 straight hours of people talking to each other and things like that, but the sessions will be in there. And then if you have any questions, please feel free to let us know. And we're going to let Brother Gilliam get started into our next session so he can finish up. And thank you again for being here. Brother Gilliam.
Why don't we give Brother Dave and Sister Brandy a hand of appreciation for all of their hard work. Definitely what they're putting on an event like this, it takes, there's a lot of moving parts, and so I honor them. Amen. All right, back to what we were talking about. It's a great topic, great topic. All right, back to physical intimacy and healthy relationship habits. So we talked about healthy sexual functioning is a mutually fulfilling experience that involves the whole person of both parties. Excuse me. Sorry, Chick-fil-A's trying to come back up. It's a mutually fulfilling experience that involves the whole person of both parties. Body, mind, emotion, spirit. That involves every aspect of who you are. And then we got to talking about how then do you have a healthy sexual relationship? The only way you have a healthy sexual relationship is being willing to discuss what's working and what's not working. And dealing with the topic of pornography and about what doesn't work and why it doesn't work. And actually, thank you, Jacob. It jogged my memory. Seeing something is the challenge with pornography is it boils sexuality down to mechanics and not relationship. And that's an extremely unhealthy way of looking at sexuality. Is that it's more than just the mechanical parts of you doing something, that there's a very real relational aspect to it. And so as it relates to you as a husband and wife and navigating the most intimate part of who you are, the healthiest couples that have the healthiest sexual relationship are couples that have regular conversations outside of the bedroom with the lights on and their eyes open about what's working and what's not working. Why is that important? Because it gives you each the opportunity to share if the experience you're having is one that is fulfilling. Because again, if you think about two of our biggest challenges is pornography and sexless marriages, then obviously you want to create an environment then in your home where the two of you can discuss very challenging things. And that if they're not fulfilling, then we need to create an environment where we can have a fulfilling sexual relationship. And the only way you do that is by having conversations regularly about what's working and what's not working. Again, couples engage in physical intimacy fairly frequently, but they never discuss what's actually taking place. Like, how are things going in this area? Because if they're not good, it gives us the opportunity to be able to address them. Now, with that said, I mentioned to you earlier that we want a relationship that is emotionally healthy. We want a sexual relationship that's emotionally healthy, right? What do I mean by that? What do I mean by we want a sexual relationship that is emotionally healthy? What does that mean?
Maybe you don't go to places in your mind
Yeah, absolutely.
when you're with your partner. I mean, you're not thinking thoughts that are, ungodly or things like that. Maybe.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Pastor. Absolutely. You are staying present in mind with your spouse. What else? We say we want an emotionally healthy sexual relationship. What else does that
I
mean?
think sometimes people, it's almost like an obligation, right?
Yeah.
Because our body is not our own type thing that can be. So maybe that, like more of an obligation, that can be.
Yeah, it's out of obligation, not out of love. Yeah.
The things, all these other things haven't been addressed, so.
Yeah.
Us as women especially are emotionally connected. If there's no emotional connectivity, then it runs into everything,
Yeah.
right? It runs into all of it.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, absolutely. So maybe it's out of obligation. That's not emotionally healthy. What else? It's very good.
To be glad together.
Yeah, absolutely. To be glad, most certainly. That would be emotionally healthy. So being not out of obligation, out of drudgery. Yeah, that would be the opposite of why or what's emotionally unhealthy.
Sounds funny, but to be cheerful giver.
People all over the world go hear that. I'm taking that. The Bible says we're to give cheerfully. I don't know who's emceeing service tomorrow. I don't know who it is. I would give you anything during offering, anything. God wants us to be cheerful givers. Oh, Jesus. That's funny. Yes. Correct. Yes, that is correct. Very good. What else when we say we want our sexual relationship to be emotionally healthy?
Honoring and
respecting boundaries.
Yeah, honoring and respecting boundaries, very good. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about that, but absolutely. That would be emotionally healthy and sexual relationship. Very good. What else? We said we want it to be emotionally healthy.
I think to feel like your value lies in all aspects of the relationship and not just the physical part.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That would be definitely an emotionally healthy aspect of sexual functioning. And there's a book that I think it's titled "Sex Starts in the Kitchen." Right? It doesn't start in the bedroom. Yeah, very good. Absolutely. Where there's hell.
What'd she say?
I'll let her say it.
I said, not for him.
That's amazing. So, again, what is emotionally healthy sexual functioning?
I think that emotionally for me is that when I have the understanding that he wants me as much as I want him, in that moment, that he, out of all the women in the world, I know everybody finds this hard to believe, but he chose me, and I chose him. And that's a very beautiful thing.
Yes.
That's where we take our love is to each other.
Very good. Yes, that's absolutely great input. Absolutely, it makes it emotionally healthy. Very good. What else is an emotionally healthy sexual relationship or sexual functioning? Yeah.
Like learning each other, like our needs.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Understanding each other.
Like knowing it's not just about like yourself. Like,
Yeah.
you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Most certainly. Yeah, it's not just about you, it's about the other person. Absolutely. Say it again. It's a mutually fulfilling experience that involves the whole person of both parties. I think somebody said that one time. Smart guy, I think. So when we deal with emotionally healthy sexuality, it's realizing that there's two people involved in this activity, and ensuring much of what everyone has said today has been so tremendous and completely accurate. It's honoring and respecting the person that you are engaging in this extremely intimate event with. And much of what I said yesterday, I'll recap just a little bit. What would happen in your sexual relationship if the two of you went out of your way to honor your spouse? So here's the challenge, though. We talked about sex being out of obligation. The challenge is that there are far too many, not just women, but I think it's probably skewed more women than men that feel like they have sex out of obligation. Well, it's what I'm supposed to do. Okay, the challenge is that doesn't make for long-term healthy sexuality, because then all it becomes is well, check the box. Okay, well, yep, he's fulfilled, but I'm not. Check the box, and it creates an atmosphere in your sexual relationship where it's not a fulfilling experience. And this is why I said it's obvious when people check out during physical intimacy. I can't tell you how many men I've heard say, well, I know when she's not there. So why do you keep going? Stop and address it. Because it's challenging. It's more uncomfortable to do that, because that's going to bring up a whole host of reasons of why she just checked out. But when I tell you, it would be far more fulfilling in the long term for you to say, okay, something is happening right now. I don't know that you're with me. And then you are able to actually have hopefully a productive conversation about what's taking place. And I don't know if anyone's quite mentioned it yet, but healthy sexual relationship is also a relationship that's non-triggering. And so the reality is, and I think Sister Brandy, I don't know if this is exactly what you're talking about, but this definitely falls in line with boundaries, is that the reality is, and I don't mean to trigger anyone in the room, the reality though is that there's a chunk of people in here that have experienced sexual trauma. And that is, it's an unfortunate reality. So you have two aspects of it. You have the person who experienced it, and you have the person who you're married to someone who's experienced it. And so how then do you honor somebody that's experienced sexual trauma? But then also as a person who's experienced that, how do I also continue honoring my spouse, but honoring yourself as well? Because God's design, we are sexual creatures in nature. Again, the very first thing God told Adam and Eve was go have sex and have babies. Go be fruitful and multiply. And so we know that's an inherent part of how God created us. And so it's also honoring yourself. And so then you have to be very aware of if this thing, even if it's okay biblically, if this thing is going to trigger my spouse, that's definitely something we're going to have to work through. Now I'm going to say something that's going to be very uncomfortable, but we're already here though, okay? There are probably more nuanced ways than this. There are predominantly three ways that couples engage in sexual intercourse: it's oral, anal, and vaginal. Of the three, there's only one that is extremely unbiblical because it actually destroys your body, and that's anal sex. It's not a good thing. It's not biblical. It literally harms your temple. The other two are open for interpretation, but in ways that are non-triggering. So if your spouse is triggered by a certain thing, stop doing that thing. It's not that complicated. Now, as the spouse who's triggered, now this is an opportunity for you to work through some of what's triggered you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The only way you do this is to want to have a relationship that is emotionally healthy as it relates to your sexuality. And if that's your desire, then you'll be willing to have conversations that are going, okay, I need to know what's happening right now. Is everything okay? Is everything okay with what's going on in your mind? What's going on in your body? Is all of this all right? I know you're saying, well, that's not really sexy. Maybe not, but it's fulfilling. Because then you're aware that I am honoring my spouse in this incredibly vulnerable experience. Does that make sense? But this is where you have to be willing to have these conversations outside of the bedroom. You have to be willing to say what is working and what's not working. I want to recommend an app for everybody. Okay, all right. Now we're gonna clarify. This app was not written by an apostolic person. I want everyone to listen to me very clearly. This was not written by somebody who's apostolic. I am working on my own version of this though. It's just not there yet, so I don't have to make this disclaimer. It's called Card Decks by John Gottman. It's an app. It's you can't really see it unfortunately, but it's like a pink app with two white hearts. It's called Card Decks. Within that, so this is if you are struggling as a couple talking about things of physical intimacy, this has literally all it is open-ended questions, and it gives you a way to say, hey. Jeremy told us that we needed to go have conversations about this. So if you want to use me as an excuse, then that's totally fine. But it has all types of questions in here, and there are questions on sex. And it literally is just to get to know each other better. How do you define sex? You're like, it seems pretty simple. It's actually not as simple as you may think. How is important? Y'all buckle up. How important is it for you to have an orgasm when we have sex? These are legit good questions that you want to be able to ask your spouse. The only way you do that is to not be uncomfortable about it. Things are awkward if you make them awkward, but they're helpful when you make them helpful. And you're saying, listen, I want to know you better outside of the bedroom like I do inside the bedroom. And the only way you do that is to be willing to have open and honest conversations. With that said, we talked about remaining present. Couples that have the most fulfilling sexual experiences are couples that have sexual interactions with their eyes open and making eye contact. Why is that? Because eye contact is very human. And so, here's what I'll say. Here's what I will challenge you, because there are some of you, and I know this may be a little out like this. How does this all fit in? Like, this is a church. We shouldn't be having these conversations, right? But yeah. Listen, we have not talked about anything ungodly in this room. A couple people said amen. Praise the Lord. But couples that have the most fulfilling sexual experiences are couples that engage in what we call eyes open intimacy. And that literally is what it means. It means where you are engaging in intimacy the entire time with your eyes open. Meaning you are looking each other in the eyes, you are engaging with one another eye to eye, because there's something profound that happens when people make eye contact. It is one of the most human things that we can do. And so what you're going to find is that it's harder to check out when someone's staring at you. Now, I want to give you... All right, so we've talked a lot about brain science, right? So here's something really, really profound that happens when you are engaging in intimacy with your eyes open and you are connecting brain to brain in a deeper way. And here's what I mean by that. That when you are engaged in eyes open intimacy, that means you are having them to take the focus off of you and place the focus on your spouse. What would happen if you went out of your way to outdo one another in showing honor? That means if you make your sexual experience about your spouse and they're making it about you, will both of you have a fulfilling experience? Somebody say yes. Amen. So eyes open. Have regular conversations. Here's why people, I'm going to give you guys 4 reasons, or I'm going to give you guys 3 reasons why couples avoid talking about sex. Here's 3 reasons why couples avoid talking about sex. Number 1, they believe talking about sexual problems would threaten their relationship. Well, if I bring it up, we're already not doing great, so it's just going to make things worse. Number 2, they believe that if they bring up things about sex, they worry that what they'll say will hurt their partner. I'll repeat all of these. And number 3, couples avoid talking about sex because they fear being vulnerable or being shamed by their partner. They think it's going to hurt their relationship. They're afraid it's going to hurt their partner's feelings, and they're afraid of being vulnerable or that they'll be shamed. So, how then do you lead into a conversation about sexuality that you first don't threaten your relationship, you don't hurt your partner's feelings, and you engage in vulnerability? Much like what I gave you last night. I feel this. When this happens, we are okay. See how some of these stacked together? We're okay, but we need to work through this. This is important because it's important to our relationship. Does that make sense? What are your questions about healthy sexual functioning? And then we're going to continue in healthy relationship habits. What are your questions about healthy sexual functioning?
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it healthier for a couple to actually live together in the same house? Meaning going home to each other each night and sleeping together in the same bed each night. Is it healthier to do that than to live separated and have a healthy sexual, in order to have healthy sexual habits, to produce those habits?
I'm trying to think of a scenario where it would be healthy to be separated. So it would depend. So if we're talking about violence in the home, then of course, I don't advocate for women or men staying in a, like, remaining in a home that there's violence.
Yeah, no violence.
Yeah, but I can't think of a scenario where I'm gonna live in this house, you're gonna live in that house, just so we can be healthy sexually. That would be contrary to healthy relationship habits. So, meaning that healthy couples are couples that share life together. Because sex doesn't start in the bedroom, it starts outside the bedroom. So then at that point, what it sounds like is that, again, not you, the couple next to you, all right? It sounds like they would be more interested in having sex like roommates, or having sex like one night stands, than they are actually engaged in long-term commitment relationship. So my initial thought is that's not gonna be a situation that will work long-term, even if it's working short-term. So it would be much better for them to come together, work out all of their relational problems, even if that means, well, we also need to work out our sexual problems too, and then move forward as a couple as a whole. Then, well, we're doing great sexually, but like everything else in our life isn't working that well. That's what immediately comes to mind. I don't know if that answers your question. Do you have any other thoughts? Good question, thank you. Thank you for asking. What other questions do you have as it relates to healthy sexual functioning in marriage?
I have a question
Yeah.
of what happens if you've been, not together in bed for long periods of time, but you're wanting to go back, like to reconnect in that relationship, and there's issues, like some people, we all have to work on our own things.
Sure.
Usually when this happens, it's usually because one person's working on themselves and the other person isn't. How do you kind of navigate that situation?
Yeah.
When you've been married for 15 some odd years?
Yeah, good question. So if you are living in a marriage that's sexless, I need to define what that means. So sexless marriages are not marriages that just don't have sex. So the clinical definition of a sexless marriage is a couple that has sex less than 12 times a year. So less than once a month. That's considered a sexless marriage. So you can still be having sex sometimes and it be sexless. Okay, so back to your question. So what does a couple do that has been sexually separated? And now they're coming back together, right? Maybe one of them is working in themselves, the other is not. It's a challenge. And so the hope would be that both people would see the folly of their ways and would try to improve themselves. However, if you have one person that's growing, can it affect a marriage positively? The answer is yes. It just takes more time. And so I would say just about the same thing I would say to a couple that's never had sex. Take it slow and do what's comfortable. Whatever that looks like. Now, this may sound a little odd. I'm far less concerned about outcome and far more concerned about fulfillment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, because their outcome may look different, right? If you've not been sexually active with your partner and with your spouse in 15 years, the outcome might look different. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
But I'd be far less concerned about outcome and more concerned about, well, was the experience we just had fulfilling for one another? Whatever that means. And that may just be like, hey, well, we haven't done anything in a long time. We're just going to make out tonight. Brush your teeth then. And here's a mint, all right? And so then, again, you take it slow and most certainly create a experience that's fulfilling. No matter what the outcome is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Well, for this instance, I'm talking about a very good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And, but her husband's an over-road truck driver. They've been married 15 years and they haven't had sex in 3 years. And he just now realized it.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Well, he kind of just verbalized it.
Somewhere else.
But what I'm trying to say is like, what?
Yeah, so,
There's
yeah.
multiple
Yeah, so that's definitely different. Okay, all right. So Yeah, so you have an individual, right, who's not had sex with his spouse in 3 years. The likelihood of him not getting some type of fulfillment from something else is very, very low, unless his parts are not working. The likelihood of that is just very, very low. So either he's watching an excessive amount of pornography or engaging in prostitution, or both. But the likelihood of him having no sexual contact is very, very low.
And she understands that.
So
She's wide open.
I would
Does that make sense?
I'd strongly recommend they go talk with your pastor.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
You're welcome.
We don't live here, so.
No,
you're
I'd strongly recommend they seek some help, because that's deeper than just a couple who has not been engaging in sexuality for various reasons. Though you look at that, even the 15 years they've been married, even not engaging in sexuality for 2 or 3 months, there's problems. You're going to have sexual fulfillment one way or the other.
I have a question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
This is gonna be like a big elephant in the room,
Oh.
but this is just hypothetical.
Well, talk about it.
Okay.
Not you, couple next to you.
Yes, exactly. So, there was this, I don't know if you ever listened to Dr. Laura. She's very
Never heard
brutal.
Dr. Laura.
Oh, she's very brutal. It's been a long time. But I remember this episode she had on, and she said that her husband, and I thought it was so cruel, but she said her husband had put a picture of a missing picture of his wife, on the fridge, and he said, "Have you seen her? Like a missing persons?" And he said that because as we change, you know what I mean, different circumstances, different, it could be medically, whatever, but we change, and so, you know, he was kind of making a point to his wife, like, this isn't the person I married. And so I just wanted you to maybe bring that up, because I'm sure it's a real subject for a lot of people, that we aren't who we were, either whether it's when we got married, you know, so that's why I thought.
Yeah. So that's a really good point and a good question. And it's true. You're not the same person that you married. You're different. You've grown, you've developed, hopefully you've matured, you've aged, right? You're wrinkly, you've got stretch marks, and you're just a different human.
Right.
And so I would say then, this is why the process of falling in love is constant. Meaning you are actively, regularly seeking to know your spouse now, not what they used to be 15 years ago, or for some, not what they were 30 years ago, because they're different. Their body's changed, their mind has changed, their heart's changed. They've grown. And so I would 100% say that you should never stop learning and loving your spouse for who they are now. Not that you want to love the worst parts of them, but that as they grow and develop, of course they're going to change. So you love who they are, not what they were.
Right. I feel like that's a kind of, I have friends that, you know, like that's a contention, it can be a tension spot, you know, where they are compared to what they were.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Here's why. Because again, I can't tell you how many couples I've heard say, "Well, you're just not the man or woman I married." Yes, that is a true statement.
Right.
Like that is true. I mean, like biologically, their cells have all changed. Hopefully they've learned. Hopefully they've grown. They've developed. Yes, they are not the same person. And so instead of demeaning that, celebrate that. Celebrate who your spouse is now, not what they were 10 years ago. Love them for who they are now, not what they were. And here, I'll even take this a step. I'll take it a step further. Is when it comes to loving who your spouse is, who your spouse is now, not what they were, is don't compare them now to what they used to be. I promise you don't want them comparing you now to what you used to be.
Right.
And so that's why you fall in love with who they are currently. Changes and all. And if you'll do that, it'll be far less complicated, and you won't have to feel like you're looking for your spouse, Pastor Anthony.
On the idea of lifelong marriage, lifelong partners, God's intent.
Yeah.
To me, watching
you know, my wife raised my kids, we've walked down life's road together, you know, we're aging together. The beauty of the whole relationship, not just one aspect, I think in a healthy intimacy life is part of that is just knowing that we've walked life's road together for 30 years, you know, for 31 years, and it's the most beautiful thing that God has given to me outside of the Holy Ghost is a companion that is one with me. And God has allowed her to walk with me, and I am such a blessed man because that's part of the beauty of my walk with God. Is I don't separate them into compartments. This is who we are. And so it's a beautiful transaction. I had a neighbor, real quick, his name was Monroe. We moved into the house and I watched him. He was probably in his 80s. His wife had dementia. She slowly declined to the point where he was taking care of her, and I watched as I knew that she was unable anymore to fulfill his needs. And I watched that man love her all the way to her grave. And he was not getting fulfilled. He got nothing out of the relationship for 4 years. I watched the man love his wife. And I thought, oh God, you know, let me be that kind of a mate. I don't know what my life's going to bring. I don't know how my life's going to end. But I've committed to her before God. And it's a beautiful thing that God has blessed me with. So I think the intimacy is awesome and it's huge and it's an incredible part, but it's something bigger. It's something so much more beautiful than just that act.
Wow, thank you for including that, Pastor. What a tremendous example. Wow, very good. It's tremendous. Yeah. What other thoughts or questions do you have?
So what about like not wanting them to be the person that they were, but reminding them of the things that you fell in love with? Like, I really loved it when you did this, and you don't do that anymore.
I guess it would depend on what those things are.
Well, just like, you know, when you're dating and it's courting and, you know, there's,
Yeah.
you know, the ooey gooey butterflies and you open doors for me, or, you know, just like the things that you fell in love with, you know, things that made you have butterflies, and those are gone, because now
Yeah.
we've been married almost 30 years,
Yeah.
and we've got kids and.
So I guess I'm trying to reframe the statement, because if you focus on topic, that's all you're ever going to get is topic.
Right.
So you focus on the underlying what you're feeling, right? Like I just remember feeling valued by you, because the reality is he may be able to do things now that can show you value that have nothing to do with how he used to treat you,
Right.
but still make you feel just as valued. So that's what I would say is you have to reframe the statement into you used to do this instead of going, I love feeling valued by you, and I remember some of those moments. And that way you're giving him insight into what you're experiencing and why you're saying, instead of just saying, instead of just saying, you used to be good to me. Well, I'm not good to you now? Well, that's not what I meant. Well, that's what you said though. Instead of going, yeah, I love feeling valued by you, and here's some ways that I do feel valued. So I would try to reframe, not even just share the whole thought, but the whole thought. Yeah. It's a great question. Any other questions on physical intimacy? Yeah.
So, there came up, my daughter had talked to like a friend, and they were talking about how they're falling out of love with, you know what I mean, their partner, or so to speak, right? And I think you can maybe talk to that, like what are some of the things that we can do? Because obviously we can't base our relationship is gonna, you know, it's gonna go ups and downs, like, right? There's not gonna always be a feeling, especially when you have something like traumatic or losses or different things that happen in life, right? But how can you help us, like, or what can we do to try to help ignite some things during those times? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Start in the kitchen.
He said he's hungry. So, okay, yeah. All right, so a couple of things. I think it's an entire reframe on love that's needed. Our culture is very much on, I fell in love, yeah. So love, and you go to the New Testament for our examples of love. Specifically, there's a passage in it's in 1 John that says, oh, give me one second, 'cause I don't want to misquote it. We have to really focus on our understanding or our idea of love. See if I can find it. How it's in 1 John. It talks about 1 John chapter 4 verse 12. It says, "No one has ever seen God. If we love one another, God abides in us, and His love is perfected in us." That word "love" is the verb form of agape. And we all know what agape love is. It's unconditional love, but it's actually it's deeper than that. The verb form of agape is intentional love. It's love by choice, not love by feeling. That means I'm choosing to see the best in you. And so I think when it comes to love, it's reframing love as a deliberate choice I make. So I can't fall out of love. Like I can't. Like I'll never be able to tell Erica I've fallen out of love with you. Love is a deliberate choice that I make to see the best in you. Even though you've given me evidence to suggest the contrary, I still choose to give myself to you. It's a deliberate choice I've made. And so that's what I'll say. This is the differences between Christian marriages and non. Is our marriage is not a contract. Do I have any business owners in the room? Anybody own any businesses? Nobody. We got one. Why don't you raise your hand, bro?
It's not who I am.
He does listen. He does. All right.
This doesn't mean I'm closed off.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, yeah, I understand.
Okay. Primo's the business.
Own a business as well? What is a contract?
It's an agreement.
Yeah, an agreement. If you do this, I'll do this. That's not how marriages work. Marriage is a covenant. Marriage is I'm going to do this even if you do nothing. And that's what love is. Love is a deliberate choice. So I would tell couples that, I've just fallen out of love. Well, choose to love them anyways. It's a choice. It's not a feeling. It's not an emotion. It's a logical decision you make to choose to see the best in somebody, even though they've given you evidence to suggest the contrary.
You can love somebody and not like them in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Like some of y'all today. Brother Huffman?
Kelsey Griffin, one of my Bible college instructors, talked about the choice of loving, and he described it in terms of like a lawn. If you have your yard and the kids play football on it and tear it up and whatever, and you don't care about it, it's not a big deal if somebody walks across it. But if you've gone out and you've chosen to invest in that yard, and you have, leveled it and planted the grass and fertilized it and watered it, and somebody comes walking across it, you freak out and you go out there and you do something about that. His point was the difference is the one person intentionally chose to invest in that yard, and so by investing in that yard, it became dear to them, and emotionally it mattered to them.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. That's good. I love that. Absolutely. Very good. Man, what other questions do you have on healthy sexual functioning?
Do life stresses really hurt the libido?
Yes.
I know that some of the things that we've asked questions about
Yep.
are regular life stresses.
Yeah, for sure.
Such as losing a loved one,
Absolutely.
overworking,
Yep.
being separated.
Yep, absolutely. All of those things impact sexual functioning, no question. Yeah.
For
Yep.
both men and women.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. For both men and women. And that sounds shocking. I know you would think that men have no loss in libido. That's not true. And actually, I'll even take this. Thank you. You didn't mean to jog my memory, but I'll even take a step further. So there was a study done with about 20,000 couples by David Schnarch, and he found that what he was seeking was to identify a high desire and low desire partner. And what he found, this is going to shock, I think, probably everyone in this room. What he found is it's about 50-50 with men and women. Meaning that all the couples he studied, about it maybe slightly skewed more toward men, but about 50% of the time, the women had a higher desire. So that's so countercultural that you just never hear that. But in relationships, that's absolutely true. And so so for both men and women, stresses of life can affect frequency. They can affect intensity. It can affect a lot of things as it relates to their sexual experience. No question.
So, if I'm hearing you right, men who are under a lot of stress or things going on in their life, and so they're stressing out, they have a higher desire?
No. I was saying it can be the opposite. What I'm saying is it can affect desire. It doesn't always, but it can. Just depends. Some of it's situational, and some of it's also relational. I mean, I've also watched, not watched.
Sure.
We'll edit that out.
I've also heard couples that have detailed some of the most stressful times of their lives that they've been extremely intimate with one another. And so some of it is situational, and some of it's relational, depending on the couple. So meaning couples that are already stressed, the stresses of life aren't going to make their sexual relationship better. It's going to further complicate it. But couples that are very, very strong, the chances are good that they could still maintain a very active sexual relationship if they have a strong relationship already.
So David and Bathsheba, they were not meant originally to
Correct.
be together.
Yes.
That was a sinful situation.
Yeah.
The Lord blessed them though with your childbearing, even though. And that confuses me a lot. I don't even know where to begin with that except for to say that.
Yeah. Well, I'll let your pastor answer the theology of this. So, can God bless sin? God can bless relationships. God can bless the effects of things. Did God sanction David and Bathsheba? No. In fact, their first child dies, and in fact, when you look in the Bible, I have to go back and double check this. I don't think there's a single time that God ever called Bathsheba David's wife. It always says Bathsheba was the wife of Uriah. So just because God blessed Solomon doesn't mean that God was happy with what David did. Pastor Anthony, tag me with theology.
Yeah, God's not unrighteous.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So just because God blessed Solomon, David's life was a train wreck. I have a love-hate relationship with David. I love the first part of his life, hate the last part of it. Thank you for your question. Any other thoughts, questions, sir?
So, my question goes, well, since you brought up children with David and Bathsheba, so like when it comes to our children, what is a good foundational thing to help them through our relationship, teaching them? Like, what are some, like, how open should you be with your kids?
Great question. So here's the challenge, is that if there's not a cultural shift in our homes about sexuality and sexual functioning, then we're just going to keep getting much of what we've gotten. People that have very unfulfilled lives don't know how to talk about it. It's awkward to them. And so how open is too open? And how soon is too soon? So I'll address those in reverse order. How soon is too soon? So when should you start talking to your children about sexuality? If you think I'm late, you already are. If you're wondering, should I talk to my child about this? You're already way past. So especially, I'll say, if your child is in public school, you've already waited too long. Because the reality is, I can't tell you how many men I've worked with that started watching pornography 7, 8 years old. I mean, you're talking, this is 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade. And so if you've waited till 7 to start the conversation, you're already behind. And so you do so in ways that are age appropriate, right? And so what is that? It looks like sometimes it depends on the child and their maturity level for how they understand what's taking place. I'll say it this way. This is how we've treated the situation with our kiddos. We have 3 kids, 14, 11, and 5. Our 14-year-old knows everything. There's literally nothing he doesn't know. And he has for years. Our 11-year-old, she's very aware of everything. I can't think of something she does not know. This is a conversation that me and my wife, so this is how we started it. It was, I think Bentley was, he was 7, I think. May have been 8 when we were like, okay, well, we're gonna have a full-blown conversation about this, but it wasn't just a conversation. It's been conversations over the years. And I mean, like, it's, I would say pretty regular. And now, I mean, Bentley's 14. And so it'll be constant times. I'll be like, hey, dude, what's going on with you, man? Like, when it comes to issues of sexuality or topics of pornography, like, it's a regular conversation. I do it in a way that's non-judgmental, non-shaming. I don't ever want to create an environment in my home where my son can't come and talk to me. Ever. Meaning, pornography is sin, but if he is struggling with something, I want him to be able to come talk to me about it. And so, how young, how soon's too soon? I don't think you can wait until you think they're able. But obviously, you want to be age appropriate. So we would tell Bentley, he's like, well, where do kids come from? Well, they come from a loving mommy and daddy. Oh, okay, that's at a young age. Well, what does that mean? That means a mommy and daddy, when they have a good relationship, that they have children together. Oh, okay. And then if that satisfied their curiosity, oh, well, where do babies come from? Babies come from mommy. Oh, okay. Well, where are babies at? Well, they're in mommy's tummy. Now, you're talking, this is 4 or 5 years old. Now, the older Bentley got, he would ask questions, and I would say, Bentley, I remember this very, very vividly. I packed a suitcase one time with a bunch of heavy things, and I went to Bentley. He was asking questions about where babies come from. And I said, Bentley, I want you to look, I think he had to have been 6, maybe 7. This was really, 6, I think, because we ended up having this conversation with him at 7. And so he picked the suitcase up. I said, can you hold that suitcase? He said, yeah, Daddy, I can hold it. I said, for how long? He said, not very long, it's heavy. Exactly, but I picked it up. I said, but Daddy can carry the suitcase because I'm able to carry it. I'm stronger, I'm bigger. I said, there are just some things right now you're not ready to carry. And that doesn't mean he wasn't always ready. Now, I remember when the conversation happened, we were pregnant with our 3rd child, and Bentley goes, Dad, I think I can carry it now. Okay. Sounds good. So we have an anatomy book that's it's diagrammatic, it's very kid friendly, and so we sat down and literally we just went through all the reproductive organs, and basically, in maybe better words than this, said slot A goes into, or tab A goes into slot B. What comes out of you is called semen, and it fertilizes the woman's egg, and that's what starts to produce the baby. He's like, oh, okay, cool. But here's the reality, though. We make this awkward. It's not awkward for them. They don't even know it should be awkward. But if you're awkward, they're going to pick up on it being and feeling awkward. So if you make it non-awkward, it won't be awkward. It's only weird if you make it weird, right? If you're open about it, and then you go furthermore. So how open is too open, right? So I don't think you should be talking about your sexual relationship with your wife to your kids. It's extremely inappropriate. But at the same time, having dialogue about what's going through their brain, and being very, very transparent about things. Like, again, transparent on the topic of masturbation, transparent on the topic of pornography, and I'll even say this, transparent on the topic of nocturnal emissions, which is what are historically called wet dreams. Letting them know, like, this is a very real part of life. And so if you don't have this conversation, they're going to figure it out somewhere. But I would much rather my child come to me and say, Dad, okay, well what's going on? And then I will say there also comes a place where it's age inappropriate for you to talk to your child. So if you have a daughter, there is a point where it is not appropriate for you to talk to her about those type of things. That would be transitioned to your wife. And very much at this point,
We have all daughters.
Oh, yeah. 6 girls.
Poor guy. Yeah.
Oh, I'll pray for you. Okay, you got some stuff. Okay, yeah. So, but like at this point in the age of my son, I basically strictly talked to him about issues of sexuality. But when he was younger, me and my wife did it together with both him and our daughter. But at this point in my daughter's age, she's 11. We're way too much. She's too old now. I don't want our relationship to be like that. And so now that's my wife's responsibility. Now when Kingston gets older, then that'll fall back on me as a father. And so I would say you need to have an open conversation about things of life, because again, they're going to figure it out, or they're going to Google it, which hopefully if you have young kids that can't Google it. But I think just be very, very aware that this is very much a real part of life. And if you don't address it with them, someone will. And so create that environment that's non-judgmental, non-shaming, so that you feel comfortable when there's an issue told to you. It's really important. Sis?
I'm glad you mentioned something about talking to the kids, because as our world evolves, as it has, kids are so much more exposed than what they used to be. And I used to work on the OB floor, mom babies, and Dr. Olney, one of our pediatricians, said that the youngest girl that came through, and I believe I have the correct age, the youngest girl that came through who delivered a baby was 9 years old. At Nebraska Medicine. So,
That's crazy.
there were extenuating circumstances around that, abusive situations, but I'm almost sure he said it was 9 years old. It's been so long since I heard, maybe 10, if I've forgotten, but that's very young. So yeah, they're exposed.
They are.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think it's just being mindful. If you have kiddos that vote early, vote often, have the conversation early and often, and that way it's a normal part of your home.
I have a.
Yeah.
So I've always talked to my daughter, like her first thing was, she said she was 8, I remember. We were talking about, I homeschooled, so we were talking about mating. And she just said, it's like puzzle pizzas. We have a dog, and he goes, wag it, and he goes, wag it has a penis, and we have a hole, it's a puzzle piece, and I'm driving on the interstate. And I'm sitting here, and I'm like, not wrong, okay. And I was like, she had to go to taekwondo, and I was just like, I said, I just have to stay in the car for a second.
Mom was not okay.
And I called my husband, and I told him, and he's like, how did she learn that? I was like, because we talked about it in science class. But so it's always been since she's been 8. We just, I mean, mine is education. My degree's in education. Is as long as they ask a question, I give the short answer, and if she asks more, but as she gets older, like you said, I'm like, do you really want to know this answer? Like, honestly, do you really want to know? If you want to, well, think about it, and I will give you an answer.
Yeah.
She's at the age now that her friends are asking her because her parents haven't talked to her, and there are people in the church, and she's like, Mom, why don't she's like, this is how girls get into situations, because they don't know what it is. Like, they don't know that somebody's improperly touching them, or they don't know what sex is, and they don't know how things work. She doesn't, so she's understanding how much knowledge I've given her, which was a safeguard to her, compared to her some friends that don't have the safeguard, and they're completely oblivious.
So I will absolutely take that, and I'm going to add to it. This is why I think it's important for husbands and wives to talk about sexuality. Because if you are comfortable talking with your spouse about it, it makes the conversation way less complicated.
Yeah.
Because not that you talk to your child about your sexual relationships. I'm talking about, obviously, that would be grossly inappropriate. But that you are comfortable with the conversation. And so because of that, it's less complicated to have a conversation with your kiddos that's age appropriate about this particular area of our life. And I think it's a very needed conversation. I think it has to be a cultural shift in our homes. Now, here's what I'll also say, because people could blame the church. Why isn't the church talking about this? Why isn't the church doing anything? Why aren't you doing anything?
It's pastor's fault.
Yes, it's pastor's fault for not teaching my kids about sex. No, it's your fault. Open your eyes in multiple areas, and be willing to have these kind of conversations. Yeah, very good. Yeah, we need healthy families. Yeah. Any other thoughts? We're about to take a break for a couple of minutes and then get to our last session. Any other thoughts? Sis, what do you got?
So we don't have kids or anything,
Yeah.
but when we do, and they like get older, how do you prioritize intimacy like physically with your spouse when kids are like running around the house? You know, how do you gently tell them like
Yeah. That's a fantastic question. First, I will say, I am probably the biggest opponent, not proponent, opponent of co-sleeping. I think allowing kids to sleep in your bed is a horrendous way to absolutely hurt your intimacy. So I've practiced this our entire life. We have 3 kids. We were all 3 from the hospital. Some of you are like, you guys are abusive parents. No. From the day they got home from the hospital, they slept in their own cribs. Right. Now, for a small period of time, we have a bassinet in the room with us, but they have rooms. They have beds. And I know it's shocking. I do have 3 kids, and they're all pretty well adjusted. I mean, my son's a Bible quizzer. He's in the 9th grade, starting dual degree classes. He's a pretty smart kid, and our daughter is about as independent as you can be at 11. My kids are pretty well adjusted. So we didn't coddle them, but obviously I love my kids. But so co-sleeping, I would say avoid it like the plague. Because once you get into it, it's so hard to break it. So avoid it altogether. So that's one thing. Number 2, it's okay to put your kids to bed early. Like, listen, Johnny, it's 5:30, it's bedtime. Because mommy and daddy need mommy and daddy time. All right, so.
We call that happy hour at the end.
Yeah. Yes. That's awesome. Yeah, nap time. Yeah, mommy and daddy need a nap. Yeah. And so I would say it's okay to put your kids to bed. Put them to bed at whatever time. And that way the two of you have the opportunity to connect emotionally and physically. And so it's being okay. Your kids are going to be fine. Like, you're not abusing them by putting them to bed at a decent time. And they don't need to sleep in your bed. And then I think at that, it's prioritizing your marriage. And this is another principle we won't really have much time to, but your life is not about balance. You're not trying to balance being a mom and being a dad and having a husband and wife. Your life is not a balancing act. It's a matter of priorities. Your kids are going to be out of the house one day, and if you stop prioritizing your marriage, you're not going to know who your partner is when your kids are out of the house. So what does that mean? That means you prioritize husband and wife time over mommy and daddy time. Now, this doesn't mean they get equal time with you, because that's not possible. But it means that they don't get the best of me all the time. Does that make sense? And so I would say co-sleeping is probably it's a danger for relationships. Co-sleeping.
Happy hour is good.
Thank you. Putting them to bed early, and then prioritizing your relationship. And I'll also say this, and we're gonna take a break. I'll say this as well. I've had people that are like, oh, I just can't I can't go on a trip or anything without my baby right there. You crazy? What are you saying?
Hey, I waited a long time for that.
Yeah. I remember so vividly. I had a friend, and they had a newborn baby. And I was like, I say newborn. This boy was like maybe 3 or 4 months old. And I was like, so when was the last time like you and your wife got to go be away? He said, baby's always with us. Like, dude, you dumb. Like, you have 2 healthy parents. Both of you do. Give that child to your mother or your father or her mother or father for the weekend so you guys can remember what it's like to be husband and wife again. Your kids are not going to be neglected. In fact, the grandma and grandpa probably don't really like having that kid for the weekend.
Yeah.
I got you guys. I got you. So those are a couple of things to keep in mind when you decide to have kids. Yeah. Amen. Okay, let's take a 10-minute break. We'll take a 10-minute break, and we'll come back at 2 for our last-ish session.